Hi everyone, this is the third video of VueJS authentication. In part 1, part 2, we have discussed about implementation of access token for user authentication, and also we have implemented VueJS routing guards to protect the authenticated pages. So in this video, we are going to explore on refresh token and also using the access token as the authorization header for the secured endpoints. So let's jump into our same sample. We are continuing in this third part also. Before continuing that, this part is I have created as this entire video session is created as a blog. It is like Vue.js JWT authentication. This is part 2 is for refresh token. Part 1 also I have a blog that is regarding to the authentication token. If you want, you can check the links in the description of the video. So now in this section, what we are going to do is we are going to access a secured endpoint into our Vue.js application by adding the access token as the authorization header. So for I have mentioned, right, the server I am using is Nest.js, where I have a secured endpoint where it is todos slash localhost slash todos. So this is the secured endpoint I need to access from my Vue.js application. So let's jump into our sample. Since it is a separate data, right, not related to authentication, so I'm going to create new store for managing these to-dos. So let's go to our folder structure and add a new module, store module. So the modules, I can name it as todo.js. It is another stored module. Here only data contains about the to-dos. So let me quickly create the skeleton for the store. The API we are using to-dos, it's just written a collection of strings or array of strings. So what I will do here, I will create a simple to-do property to store the array of strings. Okay. Now getters, actions, mutations. Now we need to export all these things. So here we export every property like state, getters, actions, mutations. We also specify namespace, right? So I am going to add property like namespace. Okay. So this is the basic structure of our skeleton. Now we need to register our new store into our Vuex store. For that, go to index.js, which is in store folder. Here I am name it as to do. This name to do will be used as a namespace while we are using any getters or mutations or actions belongs to this to-do module. First, let's import to-do module. To-dos module. Okay. Now we have registered our module also. Now in actions, in to-dos actions, we are going to call our asynchronous API call. That is our to-do. So I will create a function like get all to-dos. Okay. This should be asynchronous method. Okay. So we need to import Axios to invoke the API calls. So let me import the Axios. Okay. Now we can write as await Axios. It is a GET request. So we are going to use .get. So let's copy the endpoint name, endpoint URL. Okay. And let's add a catchy also. If any errors, just console log errors. So assign it to the response object. Sorry. Okay. Now if we have response dot response and response dot data exist means our request is success. So we need to update our data to store. So updating data into store can be taken care by mutation. So we need to write a mutation. So let's write a mutation like set to do's. We know the default first parameter is for to do's state. Mutations is state. Next, the payload given by the users. Okay. Now here we are going to set to do's or to do's. Okay. We will assign payload here. Now we need to invoke this mutation into our action method on success of our API call. So for that we know that the first parameter for action is object with the commit command. Okay. Now we can use a commit command to invoke this mutation. So first parameter for commit command is name of the mutation function. And second parameter will be the payload, nothing but response.data. I think we are done with this. Okay. And if you want to specify the status of the API, like whether it is successful or failed, you can add one more property. I am skipping that property, which is similar to like what we did in authentication. If you want for status also, you can add one more property. Okay. So everything is done. Now, if I want to retrieve the data from the state, what we have to do, we need to implement the getters. So I will create a method like all to do's on getter method. The first parameter of the getter method will be the state. Okay. Here it will return state dot to do's. That's all the implementation about the store implementation for this to do's module. Now we need to use this action method into our dashboard where we will add a one dummy button like show to do's. When we click on that button, it will invoke this get all to do's action method. So let's go to our dashboard page. Let's update some logic. Okay, here let's add one more div. Let's add a button here. button name as show to dos. Okay, let's create another div that contains UL, another list ULs. Okay, now we need to loop the all the to dos we are going to fetch here. Okay, as we know, if we want to fetch the all to dos, what we have to do? We have to register the getters, right? Getters need to be registered in the to dos. Sorry, in the computed properties. So here we have already have the getters, map getters, but it is belongs to auth module, auth store module. So we need to create one more mapper that brings us our to dos module. So what is name I have given here? To do. So I will use this name as the, I should use this name as the namespace. Here I need to register all our, we need to register our getter methods. Get all to dos and registering the getter method name. So to do JS, what is the getter method name? All to dos. Right? Let's register here. Now we can use this name as property in our dashboard view to access the all to dos. So let me create allies. So v for equal to okay. Now we need to invoke the endpoint action method. For that we will create a click callback method. So let's add a methods property in view component like get to dos. In this method I need to, so now I need to trigger the action method, right? To trigger the action method in components, we have another mapper like map actions. So let's import map actions, and map actions will be registered in the methods itself. Similarly, we need to specify our namespace like to do, and we need to register our action function. So let's go to to-dos, and what is the action function name? Get all to-dos. So get all to-dos, and I need to provide a property name. I will name as actions get all to-dos. Okay, now I registered my action method as well. Now here I can call this action method directly using this dot action get all methods. Since it is a synchronous action method, I will write async and I will write await. And I think that's fair enough to invoke the our secured endpoint. Let's first invoke the secured endpoint without adding the authorization header for better understanding. So let's go to browser and open my website. Go to here. So let's use our credentials like we did in video 2. Here I have logged in. So I will open networks. Let me clear the calls. Let's click on show to dos. Okay. We haven't binded the click event for the button. So let's bind click event. So at the rate click equal to get to do's. Okay. I think this should work now. Let's refresh. Okay. See, our secured endpoint has been triggered. Please make sure you should run the Node.js application parallelly, which will run in port number 3000. Okay. I have given all the instructions how to set up and how to start this Nest.js node application locally in the part 1 blog. If you want, go there and check the all details how to start up this server. But make sure to start up this server for authentication as well as for accessing the secured endpoint. Okay. Now if you see here we are getting the unauthorized because we are not in the request. There is no authorization header. So now what we understand, to access the secure endpoint, we need to add the authorization header where its value will be the access token. So let's add the authorization token. One way to add the authorization header to the request is we need to implement the logic here itself while calling the what I can say while calling the Axios request. But the most recommended way is writing the interceptors. Interceptors are nothing but they are intercept the request before sending to the servers. Means they will modify the request before sending to the server. So this will be executed for every request once we registered it. But Vue doesn't have interceptors by default. So we have to use Axios interceptors. In Axios interceptor, there is a special functionality called customizing the instance of the Axios, where if you use that customized instance for Axios for invoking any API call, for those API calls only this interceptor will work. For all other Axios instances, it won't work. Let's understand it by creating a custom interceptor. So I am going to add it in the shared folder. Okay. Since I want to add, I will write it as auth interceptor, or I will write it as JWT interceptor because I am going to add the JWT token, right? Interceptor.js. Okay. Now in this, I am going to create a custom interceptor where this on using this interceptor, it will automatically add the authorization header. So let's import the Axios. That is the main thing. This Axios interceptor from Axios. Okay. Now let's create our custom intercept. What I can say, our custom Axios instance. So for that const, my name of the custom Axios instance is, I can name it as JWT interceptor only. Okay. Here Axios dot create. This will create one copy of the new instance. Now this JWT interceptor works as similar as Axios. Okay, JWT interceptor. Now here I can configure the what I can say interceptors. Interceptors dot request dot use. Okay, here I can configure my interceptor logic. So so here I need to specify the logic for the adding the headers. So for adding the address, I need to fetch what I need to fetch. I need to fetch the access token, right? For that, what I have to do is I need to import the store from link to store index. Okay. Once go to our auth store module, where how we can get token. Token is present in the auth data, right? So to get the auth data, we have getter like get auth data. So copy this name and go to our interceptor like constant auth data equal to store dot getters. I can specify, and we should prefix this with namespace. What is the pre namespace for our auth module is auth. Okay, this will give me the auth data. So what we will do now? Now what we can do? Config dot headers dot common. Here you can specify authorization header, and we can specify auth data dot token. Token only, right? The our auth.js property access token is stored in the token property. So, and finally, we need to return the config. So here we have created a separate instance. Now we can update our to-dos endpoint to use JWT interceptor instead of Axios directly. So let me go to to-dos, and here I will comment this line and I will use import from. I can specify let me name it JWT interceptor. Okay, shared and JWT interceptor. Only small change we are going to do is instead of Axios, now we have created custom Axios, right? So we are going to use JWT interceptor. That's it. Okay, let's test this one. So first let me clear the existing cookie. I want to relog in. So test 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now go to networks, clear the existing records and click. Getting some error. We are getting something like get is undefined. Okay, I haven't exported this export default JWT interceptor. I think it should work now. So let me reload. Comes network it. No. The reason for get is here importing wrong one. The interceptor. Yes, now it should work. So let's try again and go to networks, clear and hit on to-dos. Still we are getting to-dos 401. Why? Authorization header is access. Okay, okay. It should be a barrier token. Think we missed that. Let's go to interceptor, and instead of like this, we can barrier and just paste it here. Okay, and let's try again. So let's clear this off and let's start. See, now we have 200. Okay, I have got successful authentication and got secured API response as well. And if you observe, my to-dos is binding to here, right? Response is it is a simple array of strings. So from this we can understand we have implemented a interceptor that will automatically add the what we call authorization header, right? So far until here we are good now. Now the next thing we need to think about is our access tokens are always short-lived, where we need to refresh them using our refresh token. So what if the access token is expired while accessing the secure token? So for that, what we will do, I'm going to my node server. Here expiration time for my authentication token is 600 seconds. I will make it to 30 seconds so that it will get immediately expired. Okay, I saved the node server changes. Now I am going to my view application. What I will do, I will clear the existing cookie because it is already created, right? Sorry, existing token. Let me clear it. We will log in again. So this time access token lives for only 30 seconds. Okay, now we are good. Now go to networks. Okay, still 30 seconds is not completed. Let's try one more time. Okay. See, now my authentication I am receiving unauthorized because my token has been expired. Got it right? My token has been expired. I'm sending authorization, but still I'm getting 401 is authorization response. That means our access token is expired. So what we have to do, we need to refresh it. How I can do that? By calling the endpoint called refresh token endpoint. So I have also given some documentation how to call the refresh token endpoint. So this is the documentation for the Nest.js refresh token endpoint. This is the URL and payload we should pass is our expired access token and also the refresh token. Once we post this data, the refresh token endpoint will respond us with new access token and new refresh token. So what we have to do? Again, we need to save them to our browser console and also we need to update our store state to update to the new access token and refresh token data. So now we are going to add refresh token endpoint. So where we will add within the interceptor only. How we can do that? Let's go into our sample. So here we need to what we have to do, we need to call the refresh token. When I have to call? Only at the time of expiration of our existing access token. So I can know whether my token is expired or not by uh, have getter. I think we have already previous sample. We have created a getter for token is active or not. See, using this getter method, I can know whether our existing token is active or not. So for go to interceptor, let's access this value. So let me first access the access token. So access token is constant is authenticated. I will use constant variable and using store dot getters. I'm going to invoke that. Let me go to auth.js. Let's copy this function name. Okay, function name, and also I need to specify the namespace auth. So this will returns the value whether my token is expired or not. So what I have to do if token is expired? So I have writing a intercepting code. Right. If not, let's write login. If a token is active, then what we will do? We will copy this entire logic. We will execute as it is previously, like previously. Okay. Now, okay. Now what we will do in the else condition is like, okay. It means else means our token is expired. Now we need to what we have to do? We need to call the Axios, and then we need to update the browser local store browser as well as our state management, and then we resume back to our original secured API communication. For that, what I will do here, I will use Axios directly. Don't use JWT interceptor. If you use JWT interceptor also, for here invoking the uh, refresh token API, then this entire method will be go into the loop. Okay, so use directly Axios to call the refresh token API. Post and going here. This is my endpoint, refresh token endpoint. Copy that. And here it is also specified payload, right? Now we need to pass payload, right? Payload structure is just copy this. Okay. Okay. And here we need to pass the expired access token and the refresh token. We know we will have the all those access token and refresh token in auth data. So what we will do? We will cut it here and we will call that getter just above the if condition. Okay. Now we can pass like auth data dot token auth data dot token. Okay. So and we need to pass the payload. Right. Now once if it is executed successfully, log okay, and also do same for error on rejected. So now what we have to do if our refresh token endpoint is successful, the response is new access token and new refresh token. What we have to do them? We need to save them to the update them to the browser logger store as well as we need to refresh our state store. To do that, we have already existing mutation method in auth.js like set auth data. The same method, if you call from the success endpoint, everything will work as normal. Nothing we need to do additional code. So let's go to our interceptor and here we can call store dot commit Okay, I need to pass the function name, and here the payload is response.data. So this data contains new refresh token and new access token. And let me copy the name. So once we have reset everything to normal in our application, we need to resume our secure API call, right? Got my point? This interceptor, when it will execute normally, this will execute when our application calls this action method, right? What to do, send secured endpoint. But in the interceptor logic, what we are doing, we are intercepting, means we are resuming that API call, and we are checking for whether access token is active or not. If the access token is not active, we are again calling another endpoint called refresh token. After getting the new refresh token and access token, we have to resume the our old secured endpoint call, right? For that, we need to do like we need to call JWT interceptor, this interceptor only. It will recall this method. For that, we can this config contains nothing but our secured endpoint configuration only. So simply pass that configuration. It will re-execute the interceptor. Similarly, if error also do like that only. Okay. So one final review. If is it authenticated, we just add the authorization header. If it is sorry, if authenticated means if token is active, we just add the authorization header. If token expires, we call refresh token, and we will update all our auth data with new auth data using this commit command. Then we are again resume our secure API endpoint by calling the JWT interceptor and passing the old config. So now if we save and let's test in our application. Some errors occurred. Array different but never used. Let's make it error or console log. Okay. Here it is going infinite loops, right? You say search in console. Okay, unknown mutation for set token. Let me cancel this process. Let me close this and open new site. Why it is going infinite loops? Okay, here I mentioned to write the namespace. So what it is happening is it is unable to store the response. So what will happen? Here it is executing this, and after that, again we are resuming our call. When you are resuming, our new data is not updated to the local browser or store because of this line is failing. So it is going to infinite loop. Now if we save this, I think we are good to go now. So we'll relog in again. Networks test 1 2 3 4. Just log in. Just wait for 30 seconds. I think now we don't get infinite loops. Let's also check this refresh token value, FK. Please remember the last two letters, KFK. Okay, because I want to know you that this will be updated automatically when the refresh token endpoint is called. I think 30 seconds will be done. See now, before executing to-dos, since my refresh token is access token is expired, my interceptor, see this else condition is executed now. My interceptor call refresh token first, refresh token first, refresh token. My first interceptor calls refresh token. Okay. Now if we go to secure endpoint application, see I'm having another refresh token now, right? Our refresh token is updated. And also after calling the refresh token, my to-do secured endpoint is successfully invoked. See, here is the authorization header. So my refresh token is activated. So see how helpful are when the time of expiration these interceptor are. So this is the best way to do that. So that's all about the using of refresh token in VueJS application. I think this video has helped you in some way. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I will see you soon with new videos. Signing off.